Good to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I call that? Sweet.
Turning new technology into your technology. CDW is there with the customized solutions you need.
Oh, look at this. Bring it on.
Where do Americans get 2/3 of the oil and natural gas we rely on? North America. Surprise? Learn more. Visit energytomorrow.org.
In several states now, voters have less than a half hour to cast their ballots. My colleague Bill Hemmer joins me now with a look at what's at stake nationally and in the states whose polls are soon to close. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Britt, good evening. We have chosen 11 different states to be our battleground states. We think this is where the election will be decided. They're all in gold here. And in the first hour tonight, between 7 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 of the 11 will close. We're going to start at 7 o'clock with Virginia. That's 13 electoral votes. Also at 7 o'clock, Indiana. It's 11 electoral votes. As we move towards 7:30, poll closings in North Carolina, 15 electoral votes. Also at 7:30, the state of Ohio and its 20 electoral votes. As we move toward the 8 o'clock hour, 3 biggies on the map, Britt. Pennsylvania, 21 electoral votes. All the way down to the Sunshine State, Florida's 27 electoral votes. Polls close there then. And not to be outdone, out in the Midwest, our first state solidly in the middle part of the country, Missouri, and it's 11 electoral votes. What are we watching, Britt? We are watching key counties and key trends in states like Virginia. If you go back, let's get out of there one moment here. If you go back to 2000 and just see how the election came out in the state of Virginia, a state, by the way, that hasn't gone for a Democrat in the White House since 1964. Back in 2000, 8 years ago, you see George handily over Al Gore, and you see where he did it to. He had strength in these Washington, D.C. counties and all the way down here in the southwest area. Go 4 years later to 2004. This is what Democrats will talk about when they think about the possibility of taking Virginia away from Republicans. The blue area here starts to bleed in the middle of Virginia. Fairfax County went Democrat 4 years ago, too. Come out of this map and go over to Indiana, and it's stunning how you see a similar pattern. Indiana's been a Republican since 1964 as well. But 8 years ago, this is a state that was solid red. On the map, it's solid red here. And George Bush handily beating Al Gore by 16 points. Go 4 years later to 2004, you see the same scenario. This is Indianapolis, Britt. This is Bloomington, Indiana. Up here is Lake County that we reported a lot on throughout the day today. That's where Democrats start to see gains and they start to see their argument come forward. We'll see in a moment as to whether or not that is the case. Quickly, just want to show you Pennsylvania. I know we're running out of time here, but this is a state you can divide in 3. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the rest of it is this big fat T in the middle. Britt, we are coming up here on 7 o'clock Eastern time, and when the polls close at 7 o'clock, keep your eye on Virginia, keep your eye on Indiana, just 27 minutes away, Britt. Back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. We have Fox team coverage of the 7 p.m. Eastern closing states. Corinna's son is in Crown Point, Indiana, and Caroline Shively is in McCain, Virginia, a gathering point for several Democratic candidates. Hello, Caroline.
Hi there, Britt. You can tell just how badly these two candidates want to win the state of Virginia by all the hours they have logged here. John McCain and Barack Obama were here yesterday. Joe Biden was here today. Sarah Palin was here over the weekend. And it has been a bit of a bumpy day in some parts of Virginia. Virginia was actually called out before the election took place by some voter rights groups saying they weren't prepared for this surge. And they saw a record turnout today, or are on pace for it. They have seen problems, long lines, and Chesapeake that had 1,000 in line. Other precincts have seen broken machines. It's not over yet, but state election officials do seem pleased, saying there haven't been any systemic breakdowns. Here's a twist, though, Britt. Late this afternoon, a Virginia judge ruled that election officials have to preserve military absentee ballots from overseas that arrive after tonight's deadline. He'll hold a hearing on Monday. The McCain camp had sued for it, saying tens of thousands of military ballots could be in jeopardy. And the headliner at this Democratic Party tonight, Britt, is former Governor Mark Warner, a man they hope to call Senator Warner before this night is out. Britt, back to you.
Caroline, thanks a lot. Now to the northwestern Indiana community of Crown Point, where, as we noted, Corinna's son is live at the Lake County Board of Elections. Hey, Corinna, what's happening there?
Hey, Britt. Well, behind me, the ballot sorting has been going on for several hours now. There's teams of two, a Democrat and a Republican, looking through these mail-in absentee ballots to check if the clerk's initials is on it, if the ballot has been clearly marked. Bigger picture, of course, Indiana is a big state that both candidates want. John McCain was here yesterday. Senator Obama made a stop in the Hoosier State today. The polls have been open since 6 a.m. Only about a half hour left on this side of the state. In Indianapolis, which is Marion County, the polls have been closed. We just spoke to an official there who told us that the lines aren't as long as they expected, so that could be good news as far as the end of day chaos is concerned. Now, at 7:30 Eastern time is when we should see numbers from the Marion County area. As far as Lake County, in this area, election officials say that this is when it could get ugly, that lots of people trying to jump in line after work, so the day, Britt, is not over yet.
I'll bet it isn't, Corinna. Thanks very much. Back to some of those voting issues we talked about. In Philadelphia, a man who identified himself as a Republican poll watcher called police this morning, saying two men dressed as members of the Black Panther movement blocked the doors to a polling place. This is video shot on a cell phone. The witness said one of the men was holding a nightstick. There were long lines in places in the Los Angeles area as well. Voting was moved outside for a while in some locations after heavy rains caused power outages. So let's get some further perspective on what all this means. Michael Barone is a senior writer, of course, at U.S. News and World Report and a longtime Fox News contributor. Michael, as you look at the national election picture tonight, what have you got your eye on?
Well, one of the places that both candidates have been campaigning heavily in Pennsylvania, even though Barack Obama's having a lead in the polls. And I think some of the regional breakdowns in that state may have some national implications. I'll be looking at the county returns as they come in to see if they're in line with the exit polls. But one of the places I'll look at is Bucks County, suburban Philadelphia, relatively affluent. Some of the internal polling there has suggested that that may go as much as 2-to-1 for Barack Obama. This was zoning narrowly for John Kerry. It was historically Republican. That would be a big shift over, make it very hard for John McCain to carry Pennsylvania. In contrast, if you go out in western Pennsylvania, in Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, and the close-in suburbs, that is a blue-collar area, and in some of the polling, McCain has been running much better than other Republicans. The Democrats at their national convention talked about forging an alliance, a coalition, including blacks and white working class. Some of the surveys from Pennsylvania suggest the coalition is really going to be more blacks and Latinos on the one hand and affluent suburbanites more than white working class people in places like Metro Pittsburgh and Southwest Pennsylvania.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. After a break, the Fox All-Stars look back at big moments of the campaign and maybe some big surprises. Stay with us.
I thought I could trust you. You said you weren't motivated.
For the middle class, created the largest economic expansion in history. And Senator Obama's plan is going to do exactly the same.
He did that.
All right,
let's be fair. He increased taxes the first 2 years when the biggest middle income.
And Saturday night, 10 Eastern.
900 die. A few survive.
An important announcement for dialysis patients who are given a contrast dye during an MRI or MRA. You may be at risk of the incurable disease nephrogenic systemic fibrosis, or NSF. Symptoms of NSF include stiffening of the skin, dark skin.
Democrats, according to the polls coming into tonight, the question is, will they get to the 60 they need to break any filibuster? That's tougher.
And the House, all 435 seats are up tonight.
Again, almost certain Democratic pickups tonight. Both the Republican and Democratic congressional committees say they expect the Democrats to pick up somewhere.
Deciding more than 150 ballot measures, many dealing with hot-button social issues. Measures to ban same-sex marriage, for instance, up for votes in Arizona, Florida, and California. And in California, it's been an expensive battle there, the fight over Proposition 8. And there are measures to restrict access to abortions on ballots in South Dakota, where the proposition there would ban abortions except in cases of rape, incest, and a mother's health, as well as Colorado and California. And there's especially keen interest in this election day around the world. U.S. troops in Afghanistan, many of whom voted by mail, followed the election on TV. In Kenya, where Barack Obama's father was born, there were mock elections in support of their favored candidate. Huge billboards of Obama where people planned celebrations there in Kenya. And in France, newspaper headlines proclaimed the world is watching America. And television stations are serving up special coverage. And in the port city of Obama, Japan, a baker concocted special confections in honor of the candidate with the same name. And back in this country on Wall Street, stocks